clarify on the printout that you have on the agenda, we're required to post that 24 hours in advance of the meeting. There is a typo. It says under the notice posted January the 4th, that was posted February the 4th, both on the front of the building and online to make public notice. So just as a matter of information. At this time, I would like to ask our Scoutmaster, Daphne Wright, to lead us in the pledge.
Attention, salute the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. We'll ask Mr. Bryce Cook to do our opening invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for taking care of us another day, Lord, and giving us an opportunity to serve here at Gocher School. Lord, we thank you for this great school and the great community it's in, and Lord, the great nation that you have us in. And we just praise you for all the ways that you provide each and every day. Lord, tonight we ask for wisdom as we meet, Lord, and just guidance, and we just pray that all that we do here tonight will be to your glory and for your kingdom's work. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. That did go out by email and was posted, so if there are no recommended changes, we'll take a motion to approve.
So move.
Motion Bryce Cook. We have a second. Second, Reed Wilkins. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Meeting minutes will be sent out for next month, so we'll delay on that item. Next item on the agenda is the financial report that was sent out with your board packet. So we'll give you a minute to look over that if there are specific questions. And it's listed under Veris in your board packet.
If you can make your way to page 4 in that packet on the statement of revenue and expenditures for the month of December, the total expenditures were $403,849. The revenue was $435,098, and that left us with a positive $31,248. So it's a favorable report for the month of December. And then if you look back on page 8, the budget to actual, just to kind of show you where we're at mid-year. At the very bottom of the page, the revenue, we're at 48% versus the actual versus the budget. And flip 2 pages over to the total expenditures, and we're running 48% on the expenditures. So we're just about right where we want to be for this time of year. And like always, if there's any questions throughout the month after you've read them, and we got these a little bit later in the month than we'd like, but we're going to try to improve on that. And if you got any questions throughout the month, don't hesitate to give me or someone on the finance committee a call.
We did see an increase in.
That'll be in. We'll see it next month. So we're still. December represents our 5-day count revenue, and January it'll change in January. We've got a view into that right now, and it is more favorable at this point. But that's the monthly report from Veris, and I make a motion that we accept it as it's printed.
Okay. Motion Bryce Cook to accept the financial report. Is there a second?
I see.
Second, Deborah Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Ms. Comer, is there any student and staff recognition for this month?
Staff recognition that we have this month is our high school planning committee. They're here tonight. They're going to present some information on the addition of ninth grade. So we've got Miss Sarah Allen, who is our special ed coordinator. We've got Miss Jan Waters, who is our literacy coach. Miss Shannon Millen is our fourth grade teacher. Miss Amanda Ramirez is our bookkeeper. Miss Sherry Winkler is our middle school math teacher and technology coordinator and GT teacher. And then we have Miss Daphne Wright, who is our school counselor.
Thank you for coming. We'll make sure that the notes reflect who is here. We'll get to the high school needs presentation in just a minute. After that, you don't have to stay. You are welcome to stay as long as you want to, but you don't have to stay beyond that. So our next up is our public comment. We had nobody requested public comment. Next item would be principal's report with Ms. Comer.
So a couple of things in regards to enrollment. Our current student enrollment is 320, and that is 4K through 8th grade. Without 4K, we have 300, that is kindergarten through 8th grade. The application for the 26-27 school year for the 4K enrollment opened up on Tuesday, January 16th. We currently have 6 students that have applied. 4 of those students have been enrolled. Their application process is ended. 2 of those students are funded and 2 of the students are not funded. And then we have 2 students who we've received their applications, but First Steps is working on processing them. There could be more that's out with First Steps, but it's taken about 3 to 4 weeks to get applications processed. So there could be more out. We just haven't received those emails yet.
When does that close?
There's not a closing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open all year.
So unlike lottery, it's that close.
Correct.
And that's for 4K.
That's for 4K, yes. Last year,
They're limited at 20 though,
they're
right?
limited at 20 per class. Last year, I believe we had 9 that was on the wait list for 4K. So we could have created another class last year. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to do the same thing this year. Current enrollment for the 26-27 school year for us, we were informed last week that there's been an issue with the Power School enrollment, and that has paused open enrollment for the GCA schools. The issue is related to the data that will transfer over when our authorizer changes to the public charter school district. What we are thinking right now is, and Amanda can help me because she is with the enrollment side, we are thinking that the data that we have on our end when they enroll is not going to transfer over. And it's going to require them to re-enroll again once we get to that point. We're hoping that we can turn on that enrollment and not have to do that. So Amanda's been talking with the Power School team from LCA, and we're trying to get that open so that we can start.
Any idea on a timeline on that?
We just heard last week, and we have not heard anything else so far this week. I'm hoping that it's quick. And we understand, like, if we have to, we'll open it up and we'll just have parents, they'll have to re-enroll again once we transfer over. But we're hoping that we don't have to do that. We don't want parents to have to do that twice. I would hope that we get something first of next week on here are our links to open up.
They're working hard to get it with our authorizer and to try to get it all to match up because it could be just a process. So hopefully they'll get it figured out up soon.
If that takes long, is there a way for us to create an online document for them to fill out, or the parent specifically has to do the Power School enrollment?
That's what we're going to ask. Like, if we can't do the Power School registration part, is there something that we can implement right now that will allow them to register or to tell us that they are returning? because we don't know how many seats we are going to have available, because we haven't even been able to do that part of the returning students, their intent to return. So that's our goal, is if we can't do this, we would like to implement something that will allow them to go ahead and open it up. Our lottery enrollment night was scheduled for Thursday, March the 26th, but I anticipate that we're going to have to change that date because we have had to push back open enrollment. So as soon as we can get an answer from LCA on what the next step is, then we will reschedule that enrollment night if we need to. Any questions about the enrollment process?
I think generally folks were just kind of curious as to where we were, but there's no way to know that yet. is what
No.
we're-
Not yet. The next part is e-learning days and makeup days. The state allows each district 5 e-learning days each school year. We are considered a district, so our school gets those 5 e-learning days. We have used all of those e-learning days from the past 2 winter storms that we've had. You can use these days for inclement weather or any other type of disruptive interruptions, power outages, water main breaks, things like that. We used Monday, the 26th of January, the 27th of January, the 28th of January, the 29th of January, Monday, February 2nd, and Tuesday, February 3rd. Our Tuesday, February 3rd date, we are required to make that date up. Any other closures for the remainder of the school year, we will be required to make those up to make sure that our students are getting the 180 days of instruction. The delayed openings that we had on Friday, the 30th of January, and Wednesday, the 4th of February, do not count towards your e-learning days. We have 3 makeup days that are written into the school calendar. The first date is Monday, February 16th. The second date is Monday, March 16th. And the third is Friday, May 29th. With it being so close to the February makeup date, we went ahead and polled the teachers. I have 12 staff members who have either booked a trip because it is a long weekend, it's a state holiday, or they have appointments scheduled for that date. We wanted to go ahead and poll the teachers because we wanted to make sure if we have to call in subs for that day, because we use that as a makeup day, that we have enough subs to cover. We have made the decision that we will keep Monday, February 16th as a school holiday, and they will make up their inclement weather day on Monday, March 16th. We thought about parents as well. With February 16th being President's Day, parents are more than likely already off, so they're not going to need a babysitter. March 16th, it's not a school holiday or a state holiday, it's just a teacher work day. Parents are probably going to need coverage for their kids, so that's why we went ahead with that date as well.
Do makeup days require board approval?
Yes, so it requires you to approve that, yes, we have, we're making that, we're going to take that as an e-learning day, or we're going to be closed that day. I then have to send that information into LCA, and Angel signs off on that from a superintendent standpoint. One of the concerns that we had this past week was determining how we make the decision on closing due to inclement weather. Currently, we follow the Cherokee County School District, and if they're closed, we're closed. But with the recent ice storms, Cherokee County was on a 3-hour delay, but the Spartanburg districts were closed. And we have students in Cherokee County, but we also have students in Spartanburg 3 and Spartanburg 7. So, as well as Union County, and they all were closed on that day. So we've got to kind of make that decision on whether we're going to stick with Cherokee County, or if we are going to take into consideration the Spartanburg districts when they're also closed. We do have it to where if parents do not feel comfortable driving their child to school due to the road conditions, they can contact us at the main office and we will excuse that day. But we have to take into consideration, we don't provide transportation. So our parents are going to be the ones that are bringing
Okay, so I do have that specific item as a later agenda item, but what we'll do, is once we get into the action from the principal's report, we'll work on
Okay.
that.
The final thing that I have are upcoming events. The Scout Food Drive is February 9th through the 13th. Scout Sunday, February 15th or February the 8th.
Well, it's changed because of the weather.
Okay.
Church's agenda, February 22nd is when we will go to White Plains Baptist Church. And those permission slips went home yesterday for students to show interest in a particular service.
Okay. And we'll have,
February 17th is the day that we will deliver the food to Rock Solid Community Church. And we did secure the scout band, so the 10 students have been selected from middle school to go on a little field trip to deliver the food. So
and that's something new this
that's
year.
new. That's the first trip that they want to take it off campus aside from like the golf.
Mhm.
First year.
Yes, so the scouting program, they have a bus that they can provide us with, and I think it's a 15-passenger van.
It's 10, it's 12, two being the adults, so there has to be a scout representative driving the van, and then one of our staff presidents will be me, and then 10 students.
So we've not used that before.
So
So that's exciting. So they're going to be able to deliver that food on the 17th. The 22nd is Scout Sunday. We typically have students that participate in a church service where they go up at the beginning, they're dressed in uniform. They talk about the food drive, and then I think they talk about our program and what we're
White
doing.
Plains does our backpack program for our school. They also collect donations as well during this food drive. They collect canned foods to go to the soup kitchen at Gaffney, which we partner with Rock Solid Community Church to make that connection. But we also provide donations at that service to our backpack program. So like the things that go in the bags for the kids for the weekend, we present that to the church. We thank them for their partnership and support. We do the Scout Open Wall, and we talk a little bit about what their support means to our school.
How many kids do we have doing the backpack program?
We have a lot this year. We really had to choose selectively, probably 50 or 60.
And there's two groups.
Well, 50 or 60 total. They can only accommodate about 30 bags a week. So they split it into two groups. So like group A gets it 1 week, group B gets it the next week. Whereas in years past, I think we've only had about 30 total. So it really, there were more than that requested.
Is there a benefit to us asking another church to be involved in making up the difference on those bags? If you have 60 and they're giving you 30 now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. So I'm gonna go to
Okay.
February the 18th, this is going to be an exciting day. We are going to have our report card banner delivered by LCA to our school. So we're going to be hanging that so everyone can see our wonderful report card banner. We rescheduled our Q3 parent-teacher conferences to February 19th. They were originally scheduled for tonight, but due to the inclement weather, we weren't sure what it was going to look like, so we went ahead and just rescheduled and postponed that until February 19th. And then February 27th, we will have a Black History Month program that we will hold here at the school. And pretty soon it'll be time for iReady and state testing.
That's it. All right, any questions for Ms. Comer from her report? So we'll have two action items, moving to item 10 on the agenda. One is we would need a motion and a second to approve March 16th as a makeup day. Do I have a motion? Motion Reed Wilkins, second, who was that?
I will.
Deborah Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Next thing she brought up, and we do have it later on the agenda, but is a school closure protocol. What I would like to do, there was some confusion. We have historically told parents that we follow Cherokee County's schedule, which sounded like a good idea at the time. But we have, I'm not sure that that's actually in writing anywhere. It's just what we've done and told them. So we do need to establish a school closure protocol. What I would like to do is ask Mr. Hudson and Ms. Keller if they are willing to work with Ms. Comer and whoever else she deems appropriate. So work through a method of determining when we close. If someone else is interested and wants to serve on that group, you're welcome. If those two are willing to do that, we just can't have more than 4 board members on that committee. If you have suggestions, we could send it to them. I will say that I've talked to other schools kind of about what they do, who apparently run into similar issues. So there's some ideas we can send those to you. And maybe if we can come up with that protocol and bring that back next month for approval. I would also say that protocol probably needs to include not only inclement weather and how we make that decision and notification, but other things such as water, pest control, those sort of things that come up that you may not anticipate. So how is that decision made? Any thoughts on that or discussion? Mr. Hudson, you willing to work on that committee?
Yes.
Yeah, he is. Okay.
That's a yes.
That's a yes. All right. So moving to committee reports, anything from the finance committee?
No, I can tie it in with the building expansion update.
Personnel committee, the personnel committee, the timeline that we were meeting the mid-year conference for PADEP, if that's the right term, was going to be right in the middle of our snow again. So we will see if the personnel committee can meet and work on that next week. If that works for you. Mr. Hudson, you good with that? Okay. Anything from the academic advisory committee? Bylaws committee? No report. Facility expansion update.
Okay. There should be one page in your package. And things are still on progress. We're meeting weekly with our finance, our lenders and attorneys and placement team. We were able to execute the purchase and sale agreement, which was a big accomplishment this past week. Things been going on campus. The surveying's wrapped up. Had a lot of utilities located. Meanwhile, the engineering design work is well in the way. They plan on submitting drawings to OSF within weeks. The appraisal is within days of being finalized, which was the next step of the credit decision. And so everything's starting to fall in place. It may be a couple weeks behind, but it's falling in place like it should. Still getting real positive feedback from the lenders, both self-help credit and 22 Beacon. So during the month of February, we should know how we stand on receiving credit and approval from OSF, initial approval from OSF on the drawings. Still a lot of work to be done, and still looks like an April closing and a late July modular opening.
Just in time.
Just in time.
2 weeks, sliding on 2 weeks.
I think that is the, okay, yeah, that's the big items on that financially speaking, to go along to support all that, all the credit decisions, we supplied them with an updated financial model for the next 5 years.
Right.
Based on the information we got at this time, as the school stands at this time. So they wanted a mid-year look, and it looked good, so. Until we hear otherwise, no news is good news.
Right.
Keep moving forward.
That's right. Well, I'll just say too, I know not everybody understands the amount of work that Mr. Cook has put into making this come together. I know Ms. Ramirez provides a lot of information in those things too, but there is a lot of work going on. It's one of those things I do think, and I've said this to staff before, that I think sometimes we get so busy doing the work that we forgot to tell you that we're doing the work. And sometimes there are multiple meetings every week, sometimes multiple meetings a day. So there's a lot of work going into that, and I appreciate all the work that's being done, and the patience of everybody who's just kind of waiting to see where it comes. So I appreciate all that, and excited about kind of those big pieces finally coming together, falling in place. Any questions on the facility expansion? Anything you want us to address on that? No? Okay. All right. Okay, so the next item on the agenda would be the high school needs presentation by the team that was recognized by Ms. Coleman. Floor is yours. There is a mic up front there, so we may just have to adjust that.
So everyone's going to get a handout, and this is just the presentation with some notes, a section for you to take notes on. We ask that you wait until the end to ask any questions. So just to jot down the questions that you have, because there's a lot of information that may get answered later on in the presentation for you. So I will get started.
Maybe going to begin with academics. So you'll see as we go through the presentation that we're looking at different components that would be covered as we look at academic recognition. We wanted to begin by looking at state requirements. You probably are familiar with the profile of a South Carolina graduate, world-class knowledge, world-class skills, vibrant career characteristics. This is the goal for graduates of any public school in South Carolina. And that leads to two different pathways for that to happen. So looking at requirements for one pathway is you graduate college ready. The second pathway is that you graduate career ready. So we're just looking at ninth grade. Well, just like kindergarten is the foundation of everything, ninth grade is the foundation of being able to be a successful graduate at high school because of the programs and the units. We'll go into that a little bit more detail just a moment. So we're going to look at college ready. Part of college ready is the what's called AP courses or dual credit courses. That's different things we'll go into. Also, part of this being a graduate in either we're going to be Marian, college, or career ready. If you have an individual graduation plan, that's called an IGP plan. That's right, we'll explain that. They begin now in 8th grade as you prepare to plan your career path. And then we'll look at career ready and what CTE, that stands for Career Technology Education Courses, and that pathway. College ready. So here is the list of units required to be ready to be accepted into a 4-year school. So that's, say it's for English, that makes 9, 10, 11, 12 to get in your 4. Now, it depends on we really didn't discuss this as a committee, but it depends on what kind of schedule you would adopt for a program. So that like if you're on a block schedule, you can get one of these in a semester. If the time period is longer, again, just pointing out things that would have to be considered, guidelines that you want to have in place for your entire program. So of course, 4 units of math, 3 sciences of class, 2 years of the foreign language would have to be the same foreign language, 3 units of social sciences, 1 of fine arts, 1 of PE, 1 of computer science, and then 8 units of electives. So that is the required coursework if you're going to be college ready. The college readiness indicators, this is important because just like you get an elementary and a middle school report card, high schools get a school report card, graduation rates and completers are reported on that report card. So part of that readiness indicator is ACT, SAT scores, and then our dual credit courses. Also, when we get to dual credit courses, we're going to talk about, and AP courses, we'll talk about later. Okay, so there's 2 routes here for getting college credit as a high school student. 1, AP courses. Those courses are taught at a college level. This, in order for the student to be able to get credit that would transfer possibly to a college for that course, they take a test at the end of that course. And that test, they have to score a 3 or higher, 3, 4, or 5, on that particular test to get credit as an AP course. If you're a student in an AP course, your grade, A, B, C, D, or of course it's in numerical grade, is rated different than just a regular course. So that counts also into thinking about class rank. But you get into thinking about class rank, thinking about scholarship opportunities. You can just go on all kinds of webs for that. AP courses must be taught by a certified staff member. You will go into that a little bit later. Dual credit courses. Dual credit courses are different. They're offered in connection with a higher education institute. And so it would be a college or a technical college, and the student would actually take the course through that college, but also receive credit at the high school for that, completed that course. For example, a lot of times that is English 1 or English 2. That can be taken dual credit. The Englishes are often a dual credit course. There's also a lot of social sciences that might be dual credit courses. Those are some examples that a lot of people take advantage of. Of course, if you get a lot of students that go this route and take dual credit courses or dual credit courses in combination with AP courses, the advantage is that when they graduate from high school, they already have, let's say, 2 years of credit towards a high school, towards a college degree. So that would be the advantage of that. The state requires that you offer AP courses at 11th and 12th grade, but they can take those as early as 9th grade. So just to put that into the consideration.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the individualized graduation plans. Like you mentioned, they already started this year for 8th grade. The purpose of the meeting is to just discuss what are the interests at this point post-high school, and where might they fall with majors and clusters, and we'll get into all that further into the presentation. But they start thinking about that now. Our Explorers program does a really good job of diving into career exploration. We do a lot of career surveys to see where they might fall, and so that helps. But as we go on through 9th grade, we have to consider too, how will that program continue to be implemented so that we're giving them quality graduation plans. We want to make sure that this is not just a passing thing, that they're really giving thought to their futures, because this plan helps them to select courses in high school that align with their interests. And so we want to make sure that they're not just picking the first thing that came to their brain, but something that they really put thought into. So every student in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, 11th, and 12th will have an individualized graduation plan. It must be held with the student and a parent or guardian. Preferably, most preferred is that it's in person, all three of you together. You can have the parent on the phone if it's not possible to have in person, but you do have to have contact with the guardian before the plan can be finalized. And so what I've noticed as a challenge is this year we've only had to do 8th grade, but there is a scheduling challenge with that at times to align with everybody's schedule. So that's something to consider. We add ninth grade, that's an additional amount of graduation plans that we'll just have to plan to arrange all three of us to be in a room and sit down and consider their. So a school counselor, certified school counselor does have to be the one to sign off on the plan. No one else can do it except for someone who has that certification. So career clusters, Sherry's gonna go a lot further into that when we talk about the CTE program. But that's a big consideration that we have to start thinking of. We might have to have in ninth grade, but we have to also learn those career clusters for us to do it. And so that will kind of determine what elective courses that we'll choose, but we have to make sure that we're aligning those courses with those events. And so that's
law school there, we called it the Applied Academic Center. And so I have a lot of knowledge where CTE comes in place, so that's why we kind of split it up. And Jan talked about the career ready, the college ready, I'm gonna talk about the career ready piece, but in order to do that, I wanted to talk about the CTE courses because it is a state requirement for accreditation that we choose at least 4 clusters. Every school has to, like Dorman has 5 clusters that they, career clusters that they cater to, and they offer the full regiment of courses so that students can become completers. Completers for any such one would be either a 4-course or a 3-course
courses that they have to take, such as like at Gaffney High School, if you want to be a construction completer, you have to take building construction 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whereas if you take different cosmetology type ones, not a cosmetology completer, but maybe a nail technician, you have to take 3 courses instead. So it just depends on the clusters that we offer. There are 16 different clusters, and you can offer courses in all 16 if you want to, but you have to have 4 and choose 4. And based on what our students have for their IGPs, that's where we would need to look at to choose before we put out course offerings. You know, agriculture may be one heavy one here in our area, another heavy one based on IGP so far, like would be the arts, AB, or technology. Where they would take and do like graphic design or arts type things, as well as manufacturing. That's what our community really needs, and that's been a big push in the IGPs, such as welding and auto repair and that type of thing. That's in there. But then also law, public safety. That's another one that we could look at. But there are 16 different ones, and if you have questions about what they are. If we're gonna send this PowerPoint out later, I did provide a link so that you can just click straight on it and go see what they are from the State Department. But we would need to choose at least 4 before we can offer that, in high school. So that's one of the needs that we have. The teachers would need to be certified to teach in that area of cluster for it to count. So that's one of the things that we couldn't really kind of give leeway on, because we wouldn't want to have me teaching a law enforcement class. Know nothing about it. So that would be something to look at. But there are creative ways that we can look at staffing and certifications based on the classes that we determine and the career clusters that we choose to follow. So for the career readiness indicators, there are different ways for students to become career ready. One way is that every 11th grader in the state of South Carolina has to take one, depends on the year as to which the test is, so I just listed them all out here. You've got the WIN test, which is like a working work test. You've got the ready to work, or the R2W test. And you've got the work keys test, which a lot of adults take work keys when they're going to get jobs through different temp service agencies, but they would already have this if that's the one that they do. And they have to score silver, gold, or platinum to be career ready. That's one way. Another way is on the ASVAB to score 31 or higher, and that is a military type test. I don't know that we would be able to offer that one here, but that's just one of the ways. Another one would be a CTE completer. And that's where when we have our different career clusters, if they are completer, they complete the 4 course or the 3 course, then they would be called career ready if they complete that. And that would be considered. And then also work-based internships. Also on this slide, I've put in here required credentials for professional staff, another link, so that when we share this with you, you'll be able to click on it and see actual requirements for all of these. There's 3 or 4 different Excel sheets, and those Excel sheets have 14 pages. I didn't think y'all wanted all that. So providing the link was pretty good. So needs, year 1. Needs for year 1. We would need to have at least a part-time ELA teacher, English teacher. If we're talking 40 kids, we're not putting 40 kids in one class. We're putting them in at least 2 classes. And depending upon the level, it may need to be 3 classes, but a part-time class, a part-time ELA teacher, a part-time math teacher. Now, why could it not be the same person? We are offering Carnegie units. Carnegie units, in order to graduate, must be by a certified staff member from the State Department of Education. We can't not have that, because they're getting seat time and they're getting the different things that they would need to be able to do that. So we could have 2 part-times there, a part-time English teacher, a part-time math teacher. Another one is we would need a part-time science teacher. Once again, 40 kids, two classes, and later on, somebody's gonna mention that we need a science lab. Science courses that they will be taking, they have to be lab sciences. They do not count except for as elective if they're not a lab science. That's a state department, graduation requirement. A social studies teacher, once again, a state certified social studies teacher, part-time. So if we're looking at that, and we'll talk about positions and things like that later, that could be two teaching positions, but for part-time people. Or, being creative here, the academic teachers, if we employ them full-time, they can offer elective teachers. When Jan was reading out that they needed to have 8 electives, but they also had to have some fine arts electives, they had to have this kind of elective and that kind of elective. There's some, I've put it on the slide here, like in the middle of it. Creative writing, yearbook production, fundamentals of computing, theater, financial literacy, journalism, newspaper production, project Lead the Way, but you would need extra training for that, so it wouldn't just be a certified teacher. Intro to early childhood and other teaching courses, all of those could be taught by academic certified teachers, just depending upon, like the science teacher wouldn't teach the journalism class unless they're certified in English too, but they could teach the yearbook class because it doesn't have to be a certified English teacher. So those are just some of the options that we'd be able to offer as electives if we took some of these academic faculty and made them full-time instead of part-time. So that would be able to cover some of the electives. You wouldn't offer all of those every year. You would offer them kind of every other, except for yearbook. That needs to be offered every year. All right, so elective faculty, year one. We're still talking only year one. We're not looking at future years. Obviously, I put on there, see previous slide for some academic electives. But once again, remember, we've got kids who don't want to necessarily go into college. They want to go into a career. They want to go into manufacturing and that type of things. We also have a lot of kids who want to do music production or do graphic art. The biggest thing is, I want to be an influencer. That would be, that's a crazy thing, but okay. So, fine arts teacher, we could look at employing a full-time or 2 part-time teachers with certification based on student choices. Some options for that would be art, music, instrumental, drama, theater, but theater could be taught by an English teacher. So that would be where that kind of comes in. Media arts, which can also be taught by an academic teacher. Dance, not by an academic teacher. Chorus, music technical pieces to where, you know, they're getting some of that the things that they want to do. A lot of those kind of would go towards those career clusters as well. Looking at the arts and AV, which is it's kind of a very broad career cluster, and it involves lots of different pathways that they can follow. We would need at least a part-time PE teacher because all students are required to take a full year, or if we do a block scheduling, a full semester of PE and health. That would also mean for classrooms, which we'll get to later, we would need a health classroom at some point during the day for that PE teacher to be able to go into and teach the health portion of the physical education. And then once again, the very last thing on this slide is talking about the career and technical education teacher. So whatever our pathways are, we would need to have part-time people for that. And it could be that it falls under Arts AV. It really just kind of, it's real flexible with the CTE, but it really, really depends on the career clusters that we choose as a school. And that would need to be chosen before we'd be able to open up and start high school, because there are no electives otherwise. And then for our administrative personnel needs, based on the accreditation standards from the state of South Carolina, we would need an additional administrator. That administrator could do dual roles. They could serve as the testing coordinator, which we've already talked about. They could serve as the 504 coordinator as well, but really working administratively just with that high school. And obviously the first year, if you're looking at that and hiring an administrator, could be middle and high. It wouldn't have to be just high school with one grade of 40 kids. It would, person and Ms. Coleman. You would also need an additional school counselor. When you have high school, she mentioned it briefly, but you do, so she's already doing 40 IGPs and we're scheduling that. Now we're adding 40 more, so now we're looking at 80 IGPs that she would have to do, as well as her counseling duties, her weekly going or monthly going into students, classrooms, working with students. No, not counting the small groups that she would love to be able to get to and work with students on different issues that they need to have. And then an additional power school clerk, could be a power school and bookkeeper, just would need to depend on the need for that. Power school, because it's a lot different, there's a lot of other things that you have to do in power school. As a high school, you've got to start paying attention to the 9GR, which 9 will be 9GR the first year that they start high school, which obviously will be next year. But then keeping up with that, then working on different data pieces such as high school graduation later on, and the money pieces, because it's going to be coming from different pots and different fundings. And if we're doing CTE, we've got another funding pot out there called Perkins. But that's a big mama jama, and adding that onto the shoulders of somebody that's already doing all the other, that's where that additional person would be needed, so they'd be able to kind of focus more on the high school needs. Whereas you've got the Perkins grant, and it can fund things from 7 up, and anything that deals with CTE. So that's one of the things that we'd be able to possibly tap into if we have those different pieces in line.
So I'm going to talk about our students in special services or receiving special education. Just to give you a quick reference, we currently have 78 students out of 320 students that have IEPs or receive special education services, which is 24% of our population. By the end of the school year, we will have 81, which will put us at 25% of our population, and anything over 20 is of concern or is a high number. Speaking specifically for those going into high school, we have 10 students who are 8th graders with IEPs, and one of those 10 students is eligible for the credential program, which is what I'm going to kind of give a brief summary of. The credential program is required for if a student is deemed to be eligible for that program. We have to provide it, even though it is only for one student. It's a non-diploma pathway to employment. And it consists of specific courses taught by a special education teacher that we do not currently have on staff. We would have to hire an additional special education teacher to provide those courses, as well as work experience, which is a 360+ hour plan, and the development of a career portfolio. For each student at the end of 8th grade, we do have to make that decision of if they are going on one of 3 tracks. The first one being the traditional diploma track. 9 of those students will most likely continue on the diploma track. There's also like I said, the employability credential program, one of those students. And then there's a third option, which we won't have any students going towards this year, which is the attendance credential. However, we do have students who will be eligible for that track in the future. And so those are students who are not able to achieve a diploma and would also not be able to achieve employment. So they would not be on that program. So you want the needs for special education for the first year, just adding 9th grade, we would need an additional certified special education teacher to teach the credential program. We would also need a space for that teacher to work with that student, and then there's also additional partnerships we'll have to work to develop in order to secure the work hours that are necessary for the program. And then moving forward, just kind of looking forward into high school as we continue to grow. After that, we will have to add a resource in a self-contained class for the high school level specifically. This coming year, if it's just 9th grade, then I'm able to kind of tie those in still with my 8th graders, my rising 8th graders. However, after that, we would need to look at adding 2 additional special education teachers and spaces for them as well. We also have to look at curriculum. So a specific curriculum is needed for the credential program, and then purchasing additional curriculum for the high school program overall.
Right, and we also discussed, additional classroom space that will be needed with the addition of high school grades. And we realized that this, 6 to 8 classrooms and the 10 to 12 classrooms in the year 2 could be, manipulated a little bit or fluctuate a little bit based on teaching positions. So English teachers and social studies teachers can share a classroom space. But when you get into some of the PE courses, those are not as easily shared spaces depending on what those are. And also with labs, they will need to be spaces with microscopes, Bunsen burners, hand washing stations, and also eye washing stations. And so those labs are oftentimes really hard to share that space as well. Also, just making sure that those equipment are going into those science labs based on biology labs, chemical labs, those will adjust as well. So those are needs that we need to look at. We also talked about our gym space. Currently, right now, we've got multiple agencies in the gym space, and it can create some overcrowding and some additional conflicts. So that's also a concern for us, or a challenge. We also need a classroom for health instruction to meet the PE requirement in the high school. And the cafeteria will need additional space, and not to mention that our seating currently is definitely for our elementary students. So we'll also need to look at some type of seating arrangement for our older students. And then we also have to consider our traffic and parking. Not only additional parking for staff members, but for those students who will be driving to school. And then at our dismissal time, additional holding areas and dismissal areas to kind of just help that flow of traffic in and out of the school building.
So, as they stated, the state requires them to offer all these new teaching positions. We can need up to 9 new teaching positions. I base the salary off of the average $55,000 a year, which you can see, we would love part-time teachers, that would be ideal, but as former everybody said, they're gonna be hard to find. So just the teaching positions alone can run us up a tremendous amount. So 9th grade, just to provide that would be very awesome. So these are salaries just for 9th grade. It's not for a station of our lower grades, and it doesn't include benefits that these teachers want, insurance and things like that. As they did mention, the labs and the materials and the new classroom furniture, that could be very costly and expensive as well. So enrollment, currently we are at 300 students. We discussed some numbers, and to cover the cost of salaries and the new modular, we need 430 students to cover 5K through 9th grade. Ms. Wright has done the IEPs as of right now. 14 out of the 29 8th graders are not planning on returning. So that would affect our enrollment. So roughly, just to cover the modular and 4 of those salaries, we need to pick up 145 students. We do currently have 31 kids on a wait list, but that is for 4K for 5th grade. So as of right now, the elementary is where we're picking up our most students. Just that.
It's easy to look at all these requirements and think public high school. We have to remember we're a charter school, so we look at different size charter schools and some of the ways they offer things. What a lot of them do is they tailor, we've mentioned several times, career clusters. So they tailor the clusters they offer to whatever their charter is. So if their charter is arts, they're gonna offer the clusters that match that. If their charter is STEM or science, then they're gonna offer those types. So that would be a decision that we would have to decide about, with the Scout program, we expanded to high school, what would that look like? What clusters would match that program? What would be our innovative approach to adding ninth grade and being high school and what financial requirement would that need? We have to look at that as. I stayed with a charter school that is similar in size to us, that have ninth grade currently. Don't think they currently have 10th, but they're adding 10th. So for the 26-27 school year, they'll have 9th and 10th grade. So how do they meet some of these things? Well, again, they have matched their career clusters to their focus for the charter. They have partnered with a school district to meet the CTE requirements, to the career technology requirements. They have partnered with a local college to give the dual credit courses. They did provide transportation to those venues for their students. So they got busing going on to both of those locations from their charter school location. They do have multiple teachers for those 9th and 10th graders, so they train classes just like at a traditional high school. So that was just some of our research we wanted to share in connection to being a public charter school going into the high school grades.
And kind of to end this presentation, the people who are on the committee, we have between us 133 years of experience in education. 133. That's a big number. Considering we're in the 100th day of school, but and we have a variety of levels. We have principals, retired principals. We have people who've worked in CTE, people who've worked in district office, people who have worked in elementary classrooms, middle school classrooms. I don't know if any of us have really worked in high school classrooms, but we've been principals or assistant principals or career coordinators over high school students, okay? So it's really our recommendation is that, I would like to read a PowerPoint, but I'm gonna read the last paragraph, is that with the gift of time and intentional planning, a committee is prepared to meet throughout the coming year to thoughtfully develop a comprehensive plan for adding both 9th and 10th grade in the following school year, ensuring that any expansion is done responsibly, sustainably, and in the best interest of our students. We really are not sure that we would be able to jump right in and offer everything that we need to and be able to staff and have the students to come next year for 9th grade, but we would like to look at a year-long plan and process to do that for the next school year where we would offer both 9th and 10th grade. And it's our feeling, and Ms. Wright and I had this discussion earlier, that we have students who are convincing their parents that they need to go to public school, but they'll be back in 10th grade because when they get to public school, they're going to realize it's not what they thought it would be. And that here we focus on the child and we don't focus on necessarily the behaviors. We focus on the child and their needs. And so that's our recommendation.
At this point, we open the floor for questions. You can address any or all of us. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have throughout the presentation.
So I have a couple that I saw. So the AP courses, dual credit, those things they can take as early as 9th grade, but that's not a requirement. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Career clusters, those begin in 9th grade?
And you don't have to take, you wouldn't take all 4 in 9th grade. You would take the first one maybe in 9th or 10th grade. But it depends on the clusters that we offer as to how many courses they need to take, and they may have a wide variety that they want to take for that career cluster.
Can I just tag on to that and say, when we open it, if we decide to do this expansion, when we have enrollment, we would need to know the clusters prior to that, and also know the courses that align with those clusters, so that when we register those students for those elective courses, we are able to hire the staff. We have, they're very specific teaching, positions. So we would need to make sure we have somebody to staff that and teach it. So that all needs to be done prior to us registering a student.
Just remember that in connection with that, some of these, offerings depend on what schedule type a high school you choose to have. Is it gonna be block scheduling, and this is a semester course, or is it gonna be, full year course? That also affects when you would start a cluster courses and how long you have to give them. To be, some of them require four years. So how is that gonna be spread out? So those decisions will need to be considered.
The teachers that are doing CTE programs, right, the law and public safety, arts, ag classes, you said those are certified teachers. Is that certified in that field or as a certified teacher, if that's the right way to ask that question?
So there's many different ways of certification. One of the hacks that I've learned in the past was certification. And so one way to do that, let's say you have a retired police officer. He doesn't have a teaching certificate, but he is a retired police officer and will make a great instructor of, the courses through that. And so we would need to work with him on getting his certification, which is not a hard process. And he or she could start, but you would have until October to get that certification. That's typically how the accreditation works. They look at you at October 15th, see if you're fully staffed with accredited teachers and staff members for those courses. And I just use that one as an example. And one way to get them is through work-based experience. That's one way to get the certification. I worked with a teacher who wanted to teach, she was an art teacher, so she was certified to teach art, but she wanted to teach graphic arts. Well, you have to have work experience or have a graphic arts design degree. She didn't want to go do that. But on the side, for many years, she had run a t-shirt business. She had worked with other people producing banners on the large vinyl and different things like that. So she had lots of work experience. And there's a certain process and procedure you have to go through, like showing that you have the experience, years, getting recommendations from people that you have worked with or for, from former employees or people that you've contracted with. And there's different things that you have to do through that, as also attend classes through the State Department to get that CTE certification. And so there's different ways that you could obtain this teacher certification if you're not a certified teacher, and you're a farmer for life, and you decide you want to come in and offer the farming type classes, or I'm saying farming, but anything under that agriculture cluster.
Gotcha. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong too, when it comes to teacher steps, years of experience, there's people who come in from a career field. If they have 10 years experience in the field, they are graded as a 5-year teacher. It is 1 year. 1 year of teaching experience is considered per 2 years in the career. That was changed this last.
That was changed this last year. I was gonna say, in the past, it's been that you start out as a 0 teacher.
Yeah.
And because it's your first year, you start out as 0, you go through the induction process, just like any other 0-year teacher. But the school district can decide to compensate you for the 10 years, and they can give you the money for as if you were a 10-year teacher. But on your certification, it would only show that you were a 0-year teacher. It really depends. I know Daniel Morgan does that. R.D. Anderson does that in the Dorman area. R.D. Anderson is in districts 3 and 7, and I know that Swafford Career Center does that as well. At the time, and I have not checked in the last 2 years, but Cherokee County did not. I swear it was, they started out as a 0 teacher, if that's where it came from. So it really depends, but I have not looked at the legislation in the last 2 years on that. So that would be something that we could look at, and that could be determined whether or not, what we kind of look at.
And my understanding of that, I'm pretty confident that's accurate, is that 50% of their tenure in their field. So they would not count as a 10-year teacher. They would count as a 5-year if they came in with 10 years field
We lobbied for that
experience.
several years ago when I was in the TCD, and we really wanted that, and, so that would make me happy if they did that.
And I think that is up to the school or the district if you choose to adopt that. So power school position that would be added year 1 or year 2, is that a full-time or is that a part-time, or what does that need to be? Depends on how you break it up.
It depends on how you break it up, and it could be part-time, if it's part-time power school, part-time bookkeeper. But like I said, you're gonna be looking at different funding pots, especially when you're adding CTE type courses, so you're gonna be looking at different things like that, and different rules, different regulations. Grants have to be written, they have to be followed, somebody has to monitor that, and so that would kind of fall into all of that as well.
And can some of that grant funding and things like that can be outsourced to a consultant or no?
I wouldn't be able to answer that, because I'm not sure.
I think, yes. I think there are some charter schools that have put that out for grants, for contracted employees.
Okay. I think that's it for me, question-wise. I've dominated the questions, but we might have certain questions.
I think they did a great job presenting. Appreciate all the time and effort into that. Very important.
A lot of time in a short time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say one final consideration is that we haven't fully reached the potential and the quality we want in the elementary and middle schools for our vision. And so we're making sure that we grow in the right way, whether it's quantity, quality, both. We're very thankful and proud of the school's hard progress, but it's hard work to keep it. And there's plenty of people in this room who know that.
Right.
So we just want to make sure that that is considered in whatever decision we make.
Sure.
And any of that has definitely in that report card aside from the academics, I'm speaking on the emotional, social side of things, but our population requires a lot of individual attention, and thankfully, and gratefully, we are able to offer that to them, and it's a big clue to a lot of people who, kind of trend towards a charter school education, and I just don't want us to lose that, and I'm not saying that we will, but it's something to consider, that when we expand and we're expanding locally and able to sustain those teachers and all these students, because they do really do that, and I think that it does have a direct impact to our support, because we know that their social and emotional needs are not met, they can't focus on the academics, and so, to me, not just because I'm a counselor, but I really believe that that is the foundation, and we offer a lot of love at this school, and I just want us to make sure we maintain that love first, and, when we expand, that's what we consider.
Do you think those students will get that same focus and attention in a traditional public school setting?
Absolutely not.
If you really want the extra to that, talk to students and parents.
No, I agree.
What are your thoughts on the 50% of them that said they wouldn't come back anyway?
Well, I'll say that was very eye-opening for me in these, and I've not done all of them, so there's been 29 done, I still have some left, but I can kind of gauge the ones that are remaining. I think that we will end, my guess, based on my conversations with parents and kids, is that we'll end with 2 more staying than going. And there were several parent comments One being that, are we ready for that, given that they don't see the things happen? You know, like, they feel like, is it gonna be there whenever it is here? You know, and if they enroll with us and miss out on other opportunities, you know what I'm saying? It's because we're not where we need to be. And they do, a lot of them want to treat high school students. That is a common thing. And like Sherry mentioned, I don't think they realize what that means necessarily. And if we plan for a year, I feel confident in the game several back. But at this time, I mean, we are right at half, not returning, whether we, and I asked the question very intentionally, whether we expand or not, and they say, whether we approve this tonight or not, they are not returning, because they want some sports related, and I do share the information that we can connect, but for whatever reason, they go a better opportunity if they're out of school. And then other reasons being, like some ROTC for sure, and like I can't guarantee that that's the culture we have, you know, and there's a lot more offerings, at larger schools, so.
Do we see a similar transition number when going from elementary to middle school? Have we experienced that yet?
I feel like all of our kids up through middle school.
And that may not be a fair question because I guess we started the first year with middle school when it was original. The original conversations were we felt that we may lose kids moving for that specific reason, athletics, things like that, when they move from elementary to middle.
I think they hit the nail on the head. I was going to say.
There are certain requirements for, but that will be done in consideration.
Okay. Appreciate your time and all the information all the time that you put into it. I know it was, I'll say this, I know it seems like a lot in a short period of time. I would just like to clarify that you were put in a challenging position at no fault of your own. The high school conversation is not a new discussion and has been going on for nearly a year. And we should have been farther in the process than to throw you in it in a month. So this is a lot of information. There is a lot to figure out, just timing on, space and the units and things that people don't get to see. They don't get to see that. So that is a whole other challenge and just one of the many things that we've been working on in the last year. So I appreciate the time that you put in the short period of time that you've had to look at that. So to echo what Bryce said, thanks for what you're doing. I know it's a lot and it's a scary, interesting time all at the same time. It's a lot to figure out in a short time. Any more questions for them? Okay. So next item on the agenda is the amendment resolution for a high school grade level amendment. We voted last month to table it to this month. So before I read the resolution, let me clarify a couple of points just as a matter, a technical matter. When we read we were a little backwards last month, but when we read the resolution, the resolution is a request given certain factors. If certain facility funding and enrollment needs are met. So it is a request to allow us, when the board so chooses, to amend the charter. That does not, reading this, does not say that it is happening now. Two, we have to read the resolution in order and have a motion and a second in order for there to be discussion, not the other way around. So you can also motion and vote against the resolution, if that makes sense. According to Robert's rules, in order to open up for discussion, there has to be a motion and a second by two people who feel that it is worthy of discussion. So I'm going to read the resolution and clarify for those who may be watching online or those in attendance that the resolution and a motion or a vote does not say that we're moving in that direction tonight. Does that clarify that? Clear as mud. So this is a resolution of the board of Gocher Charter School, DBA Gocher Charter Academy, which would be sent to the authorizer for their approval to allow us to amend the charter. Whereas Gocher Charter Academy, GCA, a South Carolina nonprofit corporation and public school, submitted a charter application to Limestone Charter Association on behalf of Limestone University on February the 1st of 2022, which LCA approved on March the 24th of 2022, and thereafter the parties entered into a charter contract effective July 1 of 22 through June the 30th of 2032. 10-year contract. Whereas pursuant to the South Carolina Nonprofit Corporation Act of 1994 as amended, GCA has the same powers as an individual to do all things necessary or convenient to carry out its affairs, including the power to purchase, receive, lease, or otherwise acquire and own, hold, improve, use, and otherwise deal with real or personal property or any legal or equitable interest in property wherever located. Whereas as GCA commences with enrollment for the 2026 school year, demand for GCA offering a high school is growing. Whereas the results of the 2024-2025 South Carolina report card demonstrated GCA's success and continued development in serving its community and their students. Whereas GCA is actively pursuing facility expansion and short-term and long-range planning to determine how to serve the best interest of the students in its community. Whereas whereas to respond to the growing demand for GCA to provide high school grades in alignment with the evolving best interest of GCA and its students with due consideration of ongoing facility, funding, enrollment, and community needs, Gocher Charter Academy Board of Directors wishes to amend its charter application to expand the school's served grades to include 9th through 12th grade upon determination by the GCA board need and capacity warrants the serving of the additional grades. Now therefore be it resolved that the GCA board hereby approves amending the approved grades as set forth on page 10 of the charter application to expand to include 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade when and if determined by the GCA board to be in the best interest of the school as presented in Exhibit 1, which is attached, and resolved that the GCA board chair or their designee is authorized to directed to execute and deliver to LCA the charter amendment requested and any related documents and this board resolution, and resolved that the action by the board chair to do and perform or cause to be done and performed such acts or to execute and deliver or cause to be executed and delivered such instruments, communications in the name and on behalf of GCA deemed necessary or advisable in order to carry into effect the intent of the foregoing resolution is hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed in witness thereof, done, ratified, and adopted by the board at its meeting on, and it would be dated tonight or the next meeting if it's delayed. So again, it is not saying that we are moving forward with that. It is authorizing us to request from our authorizer permission to do that when the remainder of these questions are answered. In order for there to be open for discussion, I need a motion and a second. I realize some are still reading.
And that motion and second gives us just the ability to discuss this.
Yes, you can motion, and as a point of clarification, you can motion. Motion and second opens the floor for discussion, and then you can vote the opposite direction,
Okay.
however you so choose.
So to move forward, we gotta,
Yes, so to open the floor for discussion, we have to motion and second.
I move that we accept the resolution.
So there's a motion by Bryce Cook. Is there a second? Okay, second Deborah Davis. So now for discussion. So we'll open the floor for discussion. You have in front of you the amendment request and Exhibit 1, which would just show where the language would be changed should we request that.
For us to do a plan, to begin the planning process, I really enjoyed the presentation, and it does open your eyes to a lot of things that we don't have, that we do need to get. So what I'm thinking is, if we move forward, do we have to have this resolution approved by, before we can start actually doing the plan for, say, 9th and 10th grade the following year? Or would we be able to move forward with some type of plan to add 9th and 10th grade, not this coming school year, but the following school year, without the resolution being approved this year? Like, could we, if we voted not to send it to get approved this year, we could go ahead with planning
Yes.
and then maybe send it after we have our new folks on board after July?
So,
Like,
yes,
do we need
yes.
to go ahead and approve it now in order to start planning?
No.
Or can we plan and get us a good foothold on what we actually want to do and to be the best charter school we can?
Right.
And then send a resolution for a change as we get, because we may be wanting to get a good handle on everything that we have going on now. We have wonderful children, wonderful staff. We have, but we do have some needs. We're getting our space, hopefully all the space ready for what we have now. And so we need to, I guess what I'm wanting to know is, do we have to have this approved before we can start looking at a plan?
To start planning, no.
To planning.
Yes, so part of the reason, just to clarify for the benefit of everybody, part of the reason, even for pushing forward with trying to do a resolution one way or another tonight, was to meet the timeline if we choose or chose to do 9th grade next year, so that we could open enrollment, power school, all those things, because that has to go before technically LCA is our current authorizer. And then with respect to the new authorizer, they approved a previous charter. We would like to have them approve that as well. So the short answer to the question is no, you do not have to approve this in order to start planning. In fact, whether we approve this or not, we should start that planning
Looking ahead.
a year ago, certainly now. Having a group to look at that, whether that is a special ad hoc committee, whether that is a,
We want to do our research, and like, we want to reach for the stars. We want to, but we don't want to cut the rug out from under us either, and mess up what we have. And like, I think I did, I might need some clarification on this, but I think I did hear that in order to begin even registering the children for 9th grade, we would need to know clusters and things like that to register them. And we're not even at that point, whether we got this approved or not tonight to send.
Or should we maybe just table it all and
cut off 8th grade.
Given the
Bad as I hate
recommendation, it looks like we're gonna be strapped for personnel and space.
Space,
As the
personnel.
bare minimum, we're gonna be strapped for
Money.
yeah. And so is there a benefit in pushing it through both of these authorizers at this point versus doing our homework here, letting us switch over to the new authorizer and then not having to push it before both of them?
I wanted to have a chance to just kind of discuss it myself, and, you know, we're here for the best interest of the students and the community, and whatever that, as the need changes, how we change with their school, and with a great presentation tonight, it's pretty obvious that we're not just quite there just yet, and we're in the middle of a lot of lending decisions and a lot of approval decisions. And if it isn't a push to have it done for our planning in the future, it could save some headwinds with the lending application. That we just keep going forward with the plan of planning and the thoughts and polling parents, and pick the resolution up at a later time with some discussion with future lenders.
So, yeah, and so you can, to answer your question, you can hold that until whatever time in the future you decide to. The big time kicker on whatever you do in the future, again, would be sort of the same time issue you run into now. You have to do it in enough time to let them approve it prior to open enrollment, so you know those students can enroll. Is that a fair answer to your question?
Yeah.
So should we, any other discussion on that?
I'm sorry I was late getting here. What I did here is a lot of good information. I think one of the most important things I heard is we have a really good thing now. We still have work to do here.
Right.
And we need to bring this up before we reach out. We can still plan to do that. That's okay. That's great. I think we're just a little bit early. Trying to have a ninth grade for next year, because if we're not ready for those kids, they're gonna miss out.
Right.
It's gonna be, you know, I feel like that's our responsibility. We're not gonna give these kids what they need at that particular time, because they only get one time to go through life. So this, I'd say this, we got more work to do.
A lot. I think we owe it to the students and the staff who are present now in Gocher Academy to give them the best environment, the best courses, the best of all we can give them, even if it's the playground. You know, we've still got work to do with the little ones that are here that we've not been able to give them yet. Maybe we need to focus on look back to why did we start, you know, our Gocher Academy anyway. We wanted to really get that core students, the kindergarten through 5th grade. We were able to add 4K, we were able to add through 8th grade, but we still don't have those children everything they need yet. Just like Jan was saying, you know, we've got a lot going for us, and we don't want to put too much in that cart right now. Right. We got to get to our destination, and be the best we can at what we have now. And I think we're way on our way to do that. I mean, you look at the report card and know that. So I don't know how the vote's going to be, but if you need to make a motion, that would just bring it up later. You know, let's start looking.
Okay, so you have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
Okay.
we can do one of two things. We can either vote
To adopt
to
it.
adopt it or not, and then move to a second motion, or you could amend one of three things, or you could amend your motion to decide if you're moving forward with 9th and 10th grade the following year, if that's the plan.
We may not be ready then.
Or
You
you
know,
could,
table it.
yeah.
For now.
you
Maybe
could-
we just need to
You couldn't table it again?
table it until we need to bring it up again.
The resolution isn't saying that we will and must, it's saying we have the opportunity to, if time exists.
If and
and-
when.
My discussion or idea was just waiting, if we decide to pass the resolution, a couple more months. There's just a lot of moving parts with the lending process right now. We want to make sure that they're happy with,
We don't want them to see us as wishy-washy.
right.
We gotta be strong.
Right.
So, all right, so clarify, say what you're saying.
I think we're
Pause
ready
the resolution.
to vote if we're
Adopting the resolution or not.
adopted or not.
Okay. So what you can do, I mean, I agree. So you
We
can,
can bring it back up.
you can move, you can
If
vote
it
it up or
does
down.
not pass, we can
Yeah.
bring it back up later.
You can also do a motion immediately following under the same category to delay or 9th and 10th the following year, however you so choose to do that. Everybody comfortable with that? I know it's a difficult subject.
If it does not pass, whomever made the motion is the one that brings it back up later. It can be brought up later. Is that how it's
If it
done?
doesn't pass, anybody can bring it up later. Yes. All right, so, any other discussion? Okay. All right, so, with no other discussion, we'll take a vote to pass the resolution. I was going to clarify, I guess, as I say that, so that everybody, even people watching online will understand that a vote to pass the resolution does not say we would do that now. It just authorizes us the permission to do that, or to submit the resolution to our authorizer at a future time when we feel we're ready. So clarifying that so people don't misunderstand what's being said. So there's a motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You just said a yes or no, or a yes doesn't mean you'll submit this resolution now
Correct.
to
So
the authorizer?
yes, a yes approves the resolution, giving when the board, and to clarify that, a yes approves amending the grade level as set forth in the charter grade. And if you notice on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the seventh category down says when and if determined by the GCA board to be in the best interest of the school as presented in Exhibit 1. Additionally, it was requested multiple grade or multiple places in the resolution. There was a request for language, so the category immediately above that says on line 3, with due consideration of facility, funding, enrollment, and community needs. So it allows a great deal of flexibility on when you would request that move. Admittedly, it does send a strong signal that that is the intent to move that direction, so that there's no question there. But it does not say you would do any of that now.
It's not saying that you would submit this to the authorizer at this time.
Correct.
You would submit it to the authorizer, but it
You
does
would.
not mean that you tomorrow.
Are going,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
You submit it to the authorizer and it gives you.
The flexibility to do
It
it.
gives you the flexibility, whether it's this year, next year.
But in your discussion, it might send a mixed signal. to the lender?
Well, I was just thinking through it, that the opinion is that next year isn't the right year for ninth grade. It doesn't put the urgency on passing the resolution and explaining that to the lenders at this time. But we could easily, a few months down the road, pass it, be planning and add, we would be ready. It's got to be passed at some point to whether we add high school, a higher grade.
I think the
3
lenders
years
will stay in position while we're waiting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Waiting on this.
They like not to do anything this year.
Oh, yeah.
It may be 3
Uh,
years.
Our financial model is just through 8th grade. And so the first step, if we do ninth, is obviously to send a new financial model that shows the strength of the school.
So that, I'm confused. You know, if we don't do anything, then we're not gonna have, does this mean we go ahead and build the plan?
Oh.
Put the model.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't get the kids, how are you gonna support that?
All right, the building model is based on the enrollment 5K through 8th grade, and the 4K.
So it would-
Ninth grade helps, but then,
I mean, but it's not, the model is not built on having a ninth grade.
that's right.
We don't strike out with a lot of debt. and
Right.
don't do it.
Now, one thing the model did look at was adding a third class in different grades for more numbers. But every time we added enrollment, we added staff, so the expenses balance out.
Any more discussion? All right, so there's a motion and a second. After discussion, we'll take a vote to adopt the resolution or not. And I would like to note that Mr. Hudson has recused himself from this vote. So we'll make sure that the record reflects that. All right. So all in favor of the resolution as it's written, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All opposed?
No. I'm just having a tough time with this. So I guess I say no to.
All right, so the motion does not carry. So that's, for the record, that's one in favor, 8 opposed, 7 opposed. 7, because one's not present. All right. So moving to the next item, you have in your board packet would have gone out an email. If you don't have that already, there is this went out with the board packet. There is a proposal in there to add a board, essentially an administrative assistant to the board. And I'll read you the wording on that. So the theory is that we would, and it's on the second page of that handout if you just got that, we would propose creating a position. We already have a current in-house employee willing to fill the role as an administrative assistant to the board, as a stipend position, In addition to her, or their regular school duties, this role would support the board by getting monthly board packets together, taking board meeting minutes, ensuring agendas are out and posted in a timely manner, and assisting with AV equipment, things such as that for live streaming. This will allow board members, rather than spending their time taking minutes, or as we have tonight, them being attached to AV equipment, that would let them spend their time involved in actual board discussions and not that. So we are proposing a monthly stipend, as is stated in your packet. We would also be proposing to make that retroactive beginning last month. So that said, is there a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Okay, so in that motion, just to clarify for purpose of taking minutes, that motion would be to approve the board a position as stated in the board packet that went out to place an administrative assistant to the board for those stated duties, monthly stipend being retroactive last month. Is that the month of January? So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Bryce Cook. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Beth says aye, so carried. School closure and delay protocol, we did talk about earlier, but just kind of catch up. Ms. Comer is going to work with whoever in the staff that she feels appropriate, Ms. Keller and Mr. Hudson, to help us develop a closure protocol and a better way of handling that. If you have suggestions, please send it to them. But again, to keep us legal, don't do reply or group messages to the whole group. You can send it directly to them. All right, next item on the agenda is board elections and appointments this year, and this went out in your packet as well. It is, as every year, it's an election year. Because this is an even year, there are 2 board seats which will be up for election. There will be 2 board seats up for appointment or reappointment. Those seats are an elected seat held by Jimmy Lamb, an elected seat held by Beth Peeler. Then there are 2 appointed seats, Caroline McKee and Mr. Chad Hudson. Those positions will come up for election or appointment this year. According to our bylaws, we will hold an election no later than the month of May. There is a 30-day timeline in advance where those people would need to notify us of their intent to run, or if they are currently elected, to not seek re-election. And the same for those who are appointed, and then they would have to attend a board training 30 days prior to the election timeline. So essentially what that will do is open us up. This month, we will begin taking nominations for board for the elected seats. Those would be over the month of March. We would plan a board training. April, we would hand out ballots, and those would be completed by May. So that would open us up for those seats now. So those would be 2 seats. I would ask that, I am one of those, but I would ask that anyone who is presently elected and serving notify me in writing if they are intending to seek re-election. And if not, that would also then open up to the public to run for those elected seats. If you're not familiar with that, those elected seats are elected by staff members and 1 parent per student, 1 parent or guardian per student of the school. The appointed seats would be appointed by the board at the June meeting. So they would take effect in the July meeting of the new year, the first meeting of the new year. Their seat would officially begin July 1st. They would be seated at that meeting. So there is a process. Kind of read through the bylaws, and I'll be glad to send those out as well. part of the charter process, the Charter Act requires that greater than 50% of our board members have experience in either K through 12 education or business. Business is fairly vague, but they have to have experience in that. So the reason for a delay in timing of elected and appointed is once there is an election held, that allows the board to assess to make sure that we are still have the appropriate number of people that meet those state requirements in on the board, and then we could appoint people to fill those voids if there are those. Our bylaws also say, and for the sake of everybody else that may be watching online, our bylaws also say that at least 3 members of the board must be non-parents of the school. That is intentionally done so that you don't run the risk of all the parents running for the board and then suddenly your school leader works for the parents. And so there have to be at least 3 people that are community representatives on the board. That's the makeup of our board. That's laid out, spelled out in the bylaws as well as in the charter. So we will be sending that out. I would ask the same thing for the currently appointed board members. If they are interested in seeking reappointment or accepting reappointment, if they would notify me or the chair and myself. We'll do it that way since I'm one of the elected seats, the chair and myself, if they are interested in seeking those appointed seats again. And that allows us time to make a plan moving forward. So there are 2 of those elected, myself and Beth Peeler. I will notify you if I choose to seek re-election. We'll send that to you and let you know. And then Ms. Peeler, we would ask the same thing. Any questions on that? That's just an update. There is so let me ask this question. There is an opportunity for us to have the South Carolina Public Charter School Alliance run that election for us so that it moves us out of that. We do have time to ask them. There is, I believe, a fee.
I don't know what that fee is.
I'm not sure what the fee is. There is a fee. I don't think it's a great fee, but it allows them to run the election for us, and they do that through Power School, so parents vote. In the past, and we are small enough that we can also do paper ballot nominations and paper ballot election. That's what we've done in the past. Right, okay. So, and we may not have that before, so let me ask for this then. We may not have that before the next meeting, or we may need to go ahead and start the process before the March meeting.
To find out the fee?
Yes.
I can find out tomorrow.
Okay. Is there an amount that you would be comfortable with us moving forward with contracting them to do before we have to have a whole other meeting and vote? Less than, my guess is it is less than $1,000. I may be wrong there. I mean, and it's simple enough to do the paper ballots. That's, yeah. Everybody good with that? And that way we don't have to hold another special meeting. We can ask the finance committee to confirm that funds are available and doesn't put us in a compromising position and move forward if everybody's good with that. Okay. Because there is, I don't know the whole process. There is a process to giving them access to our Power School or something to that effect so that they can, because they run that it's run electronically through whatever our online system is. Yeah. So we'll ask, and that's kind of the reason for timing. Like we need to find out if they have access to that. All right. Moving to 18. Any old business? Any new business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Jim Brown, motion to adjourn. Second, Reed Wilkins at 8:32. All in favor? If you're not, keep your seat. Right.